the president, Francis, will be here on Friday, holding several meetings with the mayor where they'll be discussing a range of issues that are interesting to them, such as climate change and energy independence and alternative means of transportation. And from what I hear, that the president is a huge fan of New Orleans music, so I imagine they'll also be talking about their favorite Professor Longhair albums. You're supposed to laugh at that, Ben. Thank you. And also, and that is all we have for a briefing. I'll take some of your questions.
Yeah, so I was going to ask her, she's not here, so maybe you can speak for the administration. How is she feeling? How are you guys feeling regarding last night's city council decision to reinstate Jasper?
Well, you know, the city council made a decision to, they have faith in Jasper, and they reinstated her to the HANO board. We respect their decision, and we just look forward to seeing if this is going to be further resolved or to see how this actually plays out. But the city council believes in Sharon Jasper's contribution to the board of HANO and that she's a valuable member of the HANO board, and they took the steps to reinstate her. And we have to stand by and respect their decision.
I have a follow-up to that, if you don't mind. So,
But I'm sorry, did you want to just, okay.
If I can get a follow-up. The city council said that the proper steps were not taken in giving, further context to the allegations in the letter. Was the administration aware of the steps that were needed to take, and were you guys aware that that was not sufficient?
Well, I think that's a city council interpretation. The actual statute doesn't say anything about details or more facts. It says that you need to have reasons, and they had reasons in the letter. So the city council interprets the law in a different manner than the way that the city attorney in our office did. So it wasn't a matter of us not following the law. Actually, we did follow the law. It's just that the city council decided that it was not the law that they interpreted it to be followed. So, I imagine that, we will abide by the city council decision and hope that Ms. Jasper and the board of HANO can have productive working relationship moving forward.
in the statement that you sent out yesterday, you guys pretty much expressed disapproval of the decision to reinstate her. What were you guys disapproved of for when it comes to the meeting itself?
I think the one disapproval that we saw was that the HANO board members weren't allowed to speak on their behalf. I felt that it was a little bit unfair for the city council to put their comments just to public comments and not give them the opportunity to speak of their experience of working with Ms. Jasper and speak of their experience of the way that they felt and the way that they felt that she was hampering the board's progress and not helping it achieve its goals. So I just felt that that was a little bit of just it felt unfair from the officer's perspective that they didn't get a chance. There was a lot of accusations being flung at HANO, and they were there, and they weren't able to respond to them and to actually to push back on them. So if we ever get to the point of doing something like that again, or if the city council ever gets to the round to doing something like that again, I would hope that they would invite everyone who's a party to it so all the facts can be brought to the table.
If the mayor,
Excuse me, one follow-up, and then we're going to go to Vice Mayor.
if the mayor was so concerned about these accusations, why wasn't she there yesterday?
Why wasn't she there at the HANO meeting?
Why wasn't she there at the meeting?
Well, the meeting was originally scheduled to be the members of HANO, and at the last minute, the city council changed its mind and decided that HANO could not, was not allowed to participate. We don't operate on a last minute decision kind of operation here. The mayor is scheduled well in advance, so any last minute decision at a city council, it's hard for us to kind of rearrange our schedule to go down there and testify. Plus, I think it would be really, again, this is the HANO board. The HANO board, I'm not sure if this came out yesterday, the HANO board were the ones who came to the mayor and expressed their disappointment in Ms. Jasper and asked her, in her authority as appointing person, to remove Ms. Jasper from the board. That is what the HANO board did. So this is not a mayoral decision. This is not a decision that the mayor made. This is the working relationship with the board, and it's a great working relationship. This is the way that all boards operate. And the board members came to the mayor and raised some really important concerns, and the mayor acted on them. And so to ask the mayor to come down really would make no sense, because it's the people of HANO who are living with the experience, and the people of HANO who are experiencing the working with Ms. Jasper and the way that she's been disruptive to the board.
But the mayor is the one that initially.
That is her role. In this position, that is her role, to be able to remove or appoint people to an authority. But the HANO members are the people who are on the ground. They're the ones who are doing the work. They're the ones who know what the relationships are like. It's not the mayor's role to assess the ability of Ms. Jasper. It's not the mayor's role to along anything that has to do with the working innards of HANO. The mayor's role is to listen to the board, have a relationship with the board, and in the event that the board needs the mayor to do something in her capacity as a appointing person, that's the way it happens. That's the way it happens across all boards. But to think that this is some issue that was generated from this office, or that this office wanted Ms. Jasper gone, is false. This is, the board came to the mayor and expressed their disappointment in Ms. Jasper, produced evidence to the such, and then the mayor took the appropriate steps in her authority to remove Ms. Jasper from the board.
Fox 8 and
Fox 8 confirmed the mayor is under an active federal investigation. Has she hired an attorney to defend her?
We have not learned or heard or been informed of any active, inactive, dormant federal investigation. So I can't ask you any questions about who she's hired or who she hasn't hired, because we haven't been informed of such.
So can the mayor say that she didn't commit any federal crime?
Again, we haven't been informed of any investigation. We haven't been informed by any federal authority, state authority, that the mayor is under any sort of investigation. So talking about anything related to that, I think, would be speculation and premature, because we haven't been informed of anything.
Michelle.
To go back to the previous conversation and to clarify, so the administration is not making a renewed effort to remove Ms. Jasper from the board?
At the current moment, the administration is respecting and abiding the decision by the city council to reinstate Ms. Jasper to the board. The city council sees some wisdom in putting her back on the board, and they felt that that she belonged back on the board to reinstate, and so we're going to respect their decision.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, how do you expect the final budget approval, and how has the process been since the proposal was made? How's the working relationship been behind the scenes with the council?
I've not been privy to the working relationship behind the scenes with the council. I heard that they have been going well. I know that our budget proposals in front of the city council from our department heads were rather impressive and detailed. I saw a lot of the back and forth between council members, and I see that there's a lot of working relationship between the department heads and the members of the council. I think we saw some resolution with regard to the sanitation. There was a little bit of a hiccup along the way, and then that was resolved a few weeks later. The civil service unanimously passed our retention and recruitment package, and so now that's in the city council's ballpark, and I imagine, given this widespread support that the plan has had from the business community, from the civil service, from the business owners in the French Quarter, from the community, that they will follow suit. But we are feeling confident. We put together a really aggressive budget that was responsible fiscally, and the city council realizes our fiscal responsible budget. We are putting money into areas that need to be addressed. There's a lot more money going, obviously, into public safety, code enforcement, and cleaning up blight, economic development, all obviously housing and sanitation. So we've made a really concerted effort. I think that's one of the reasons why we had those budget meetings, so we could hear from the people and hear what their budget priorities were, and then we put forth a budget that was reflective of the community's needs.
I understand that the council's considering not going through with the free healthcare but would use that money to fund some of the other initiatives that the administration proposed. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I haven't heard any details about what the city council is going to approve with regards to health care for law enforcement agencies. I can only tell you that the mayor met with every district for roll call 7 p.m., 7 a.m. For 2 straight weeks, and then 2 straight weeks a month later. And health insurance was one of the #1 things that the law enforcement officers were saying across the board. It puts them in a competitive disadvantage with the neighboring parishes and other places by not having health care, and obviously it saves them a lot of money if they don't have to take out of their pocket to pay for their health care costs. So I would hope that the city council realizes that the officers, this is what the officers need. This is also what makes for more of an attractive recruitment package for getting other officers from different jurisdictions and different states to come join this force. So I really hope that, there's a lot of funding needed across NOPD, but the health insurance is a big part of what we hope will stay through the final package.
Thank you. As you know, it was a violent weekend in the city of New Orleans, including 5 people shot on Bourbon Street. Some people are wondering, where was the mayor? Why did she not speak at the scene or immediately after, visibly and in person?
Well, this was a long week of family and friends and giving thanks, and it was unfortunately marred by some violence in the French Quarter, and it was unfortunate. And our prayers and thoughts and concerns go to the people who were affected personally by this violence. The NOPD apprehended the suspect, as they're always on the scene and doing their jobs very effectively. This incident is not been the norm in the last couple of weeks, quite honestly. This administration, led by Chief Ferguson, have taken dozens of guns off the street, especially into the French Quarter. I think there were 30 guns taken off the street last weekend. I think there were 35 over Halloween weekend. More than 2,300 since the year began. So they're doing an admirable job of getting these violent weapons of death off of the streets and making our streets safer. We've seen crime go down repeatedly since the crime plan has been implemented and the redeployment of officers has been fully realized. We see response times have been cut. Violent crimes, even shootings and homicides have been falling down. The business community has been widespread in support of this plan, and they see its effects, and they see its difference being made. There's more officers in the street. You can feel it. I would actually be remiss if I were a gun-toting individual to take a gun out into the French Quarter, knowing how successful this NOPD has been with taking guns off the street. And not only have they been successful about that, they've been successful building partnerships with federal and state law enforcement agencies to do a total sweep of guns and drugs, and it has been a really collaborative effort, but of course led by our police department. The violence is unfortunate. There's no doubt about it, and the mayor always feels a personal, when any violence occurs in the city that she loves so much. But we have faith in the NOPD, we have faith in our plan, and the progress and the results that we've seen here in the 2.5 months that it's been implemented are very encouraging.
Kenny, did you have a question?
Yeah,
You're late, Dick. You're late. You traffic? Is that your excuse? Oh, I'm sorry. You okay?
I didn't get in an accident.
Oh, okay.
There was an accident,
All right.
so it was blocked off.
Brittany said you were in traffic, so.
So the mayor recall efforts have ramped up. They're now direct mailing to voters to make it easier for voters to sign the recall. They just have to mail back the form and they can get postage. So what's your response to that?
Well, our response to the recall has always been the same, that we're going to show the people of New Orleans the work that we've been doing, the results that we've been producing, and the progress the city has been making. And that has not changed, and that will not change. The mayor is a former community organizer, so I think that, she understands the difficulty of a recall campaign and appreciates and respects what they're doing, because that's the world in which she came from. But our response to the recall is not to talk about where they're spending their money and how they're spending it and what they're spending it on. Our response to the recall is to go out there and deliver for the people of New Orleans. And we've been doing that, like I just said, with the crime. We've got the president of France coming here in 2 days. We're once again going to be lifted onto the global stage as a global city to talk about all the benefits that the city's been able to bring, not just to the world, but obviously here to the residents of New Orleans. And, this is just part of all of the efforts this mayor has been doing, whether it's the U.S. Conference of Mayors and climate change, cultural exchanges with our sister cities. It's putting the New Orleans on a global map and making the world leaders understand and respect the city. Since 1976, the president of France hasn't been here. And the mayor of New Orleans, Louisiana, is going to talk to the president about climate change and talk to the president about alternative energy and alternative modes of transportation. These are high-level conversations that you're having with world leaders. This is the type of city that the mayor is working towards envisioning and working towards fruition, lifting up this city on a global stage. And taking a lead on climate is what this mayor has done and will continue to do. And it's happy and it's rewarding that the president of France, who is also a leader in climate change, recognizes that and is coming here to talk about those efforts with the mayor.
Debbie, have you, Fox Eight.
I'm gonna go back to the HANO conversation. What does the administration have to say to Jasper's supporters, whom the HANO board says is being cited by Jasper?
Now, I would say this about, I watched a lot of that hearing yesterday, and some of you were down there yesterday. I would just hope that people who work for the city government, people who work in political organizations are afforded some more respect and dignity while they're carrying out their jobs. It seemed to me everyone who came in defense of HANO yesterday was greeted with jeers and yelling and screaming and just a very unprofessional treatment, in my opinion. And it's disheartening to see that our city employees are so dedicated and really work very hard. And the HANO board, which is made up of unpaid people who are dedicated to improving the housing opportunities for the city of New Orleans, be treated with such disrespect. And so I would just hope that we would be able to show a little more respect to all the people who are trying to work on behalf of the people of New Orleans and not be so antagonistic and not just not have these reactions that really just call into question whether or not you're just angry or whether you're angry about a particular issue. The people of HANO do a wonderful job, and we build and uplift and maintain affordable housing across the city, and HANO is a big part of that portfolio. But no one in any employment anywhere, especially the city employees who've been through so much during these pandemic years, should be treated like that.
Fox Eight.
Fox 8 found several instances of travel and room upgrades being made both for Mayor Cantrell and for Detective Baffy and her security detail. Is that money going to be repaid like it was for
The mayor has never had, the city has never paid for any of the mayor's upgrades. You found upgrades, but the mayor is always responsible paying for the upgrades. So the city's been not on the hook for any of the hotel room upgrades by the mayor. So there is no refund or reimbursement need to be made. I don't know what you're talking about with regards to Jeffrey Vappy in terms of what upgrade he might have had. I've never seen any upgrade. But again, you're allowed to upgrade your room as long as you are the one paying for it. The city has never paid for any, hasn't paid for any upgrades that the mayor has made. The mayor has always paid for her upgrades herself. And I would imagine that's the same case with Officer Vappy as well.
So you can say definitively that all upgrades, anything, any rooms upgrades, any first class travel upgrades, any ticket upgrades, train rides have all been paid for?
There is no train policy. I asked the CAO's office that, and they said there was no train ticket policy. So I can't speak to them going on the Acela as opposed to the non-Acela train. But I don't believe that violated city policy because there is no train policy. And as we already said, the mayor has already reimbursed the city for her flight upgrades, and she's always taken personal responsibility for her hotel room upgrades. There have been no upgrades on the city's dime with regards to hotels.
Any other questions?
Does
Debbie,
the,
the issue.
does the mayor's office plan to remove Officer Baffy from the HANO board?
Again, the mayor does not make decisions about the HANO board. The HANO board makes the decisions about the HANO board. If the HANO board wants Officer Vappy removed and has valid reasons that they can say he's not fulfilling his board responsibilities, I imagine the mayor will take those recommendations into consideration and act upon the way that the board acts upon.
But there's been no recommendations.
Not that I know of. I have not, I believe that the only recommendation the HANO board has made for someone to be removed is Ms. Jasper.
Greg, can you give us an update on where we stand with the sanitation contracts? Has there been any changes, or are we still on the same trajectory?
I imagine that when the city council approved the extra $7 million, that was pretty much the end of that. And then we are moving forward to cleaning up the streets and moving forward with the new teams, IV Ways and Waste Pro, rolling probably right now as we speak.
Last question.
Yes, I'd like, you mentioned about the respect that you want the residents and the public to show to the board and to the administration of HANO. My question is, when was the last time you and/or the mayor was over at HANO to see how HANO respects and treats the residents that they have to deal with?
Well, I don't think we have to go to HANO to see exactly the way that they've conducted their public meetings. I've been listening to them and watching them for the past 2 or 3 days since all of this has come apart. So I see exactly how they conduct their meetings, and I have not seen any blatant disrespect. Now, if you're talking from an issue of whether I think that there should be more respect across the board. And if you feel, and if you felt that there's been disrespect to the people who are coming to the HANO meetings, then that is something that I will definitely bring up with the mayor and bring up with the HANO board. But I'm not pointing the fingers at just one group of people. I think there's a lack of respect across the board from a lot of places in a lot of different areas. And I think that it would just be a lot better and be a lot more productive for the city and for this country just to be more collaborative and be more respectful of people and work together as opposed to just picking sides and arguing. I mean, yesterday in Washington, of all places, we saw people come together and pass legislation that protects and respects marriage. We've never seen 61 Democrats and Republicans come from a bill in the Senate before. 13 Republicans joined Democrats. It's absolutely unprecedented in the last 8, 9 years that we've seen in Washington. We need to have that more of a communal spirit down here in New Orleans. We know we need to have working relationship with the city council. It can't just keep on being fighting. So if you have incidences where there's been disrespect from HANO to residents of the city of New Orleans, I can talk to you after this, and I'd be more than happy to sit down and listen to what you have to say, because that has no place in any level of government, or any place for that matter. The people of HANO work on behalf of the people of New Orleans, and they're afforded the same level of respect as you and I or anyone else would want to. And so if you have incidences where that respect has been breached, you and I talk about it, and we'll see what remedies we can do to change that. But I tell you, I've listened to a lot of the meetings, and I've heard the way that the HANO people have talked to residents who have coming up, and I haven't heard any blatant disrespect or something that would make me appalled. But I've only heard a handful of meetings. I'm sure you have much more detailed experience. So we're definitely here to listen to you, because I don't think anybody wants a city where we're just at each other's throats just because we don't like what they do.
The question wasn't to limit it to public arenas, but as far as HANO treats its residents on a daily basis, especially when it comes to when they have issues and complaints. Have you or the mayor really gone in to see what HANO is doing and how they are handling those people? And I ask it because by law, the mayor is supposed to be on top of what HANO is doing to the residents that they have to service by law.
Sir, I'm not aware of any sort of complaints, or when you say treatment, are you talking about, I'm not sure what type of treatment you're talking about. But again, you and I can talk about this, because I feel, and the mayor feels, and this office feels very strongly, that people need to be treated correctly in the right way. And so be more than happy to figure out some way that we can get HANO to be more responsive to the people and the residents' needs, and to hear them and to treat them with the dignity that they deserve. And as for, yeah.
That's all we have.